You may know that the Daily Show host, Trevor Noah, who has hosted the show for, I think, the last 7 years since Jon Stewart stepped away. And it went from being sort of a cultural icon, whether you watched it or not, whether you liked Jon Stewart or not, whether you thought it was good or not. It was a sort of mainstream place where politics was heard and talked about, and it was thought as the most sort of irreverent political comedy on television. Basically, Trevor Noah takes over and the things become completely irrelevant. So they're finally getting rid of him, and it's fairly obvious they would have gotten rid of him years ago, but because of the identity politics game, like clearly they couldn't do that, which is also why he got the job in the first place, because there were plenty of other qualified, actually funny people that could have got it. Anyway, MRC TV did a little compilation on this and a study on how many guests he had on that were political by nature and whether they were left or right, liberal or conservative, or much more. Here's a little info for you. During his 7-year tenure as host of Comedy Central's The Daily Show, Trevor Noah brought a reliably liberal bias to the program, a Newsbusters study has found. MRC analysts found that from when Noah began hosting the show in September of 2015 through his final show in December of 2022, Noah had on 159 partisan guests, including 109 unique individuals. Of these 159 guests, 137, or 86.16%, were Democrats or in some way affiliated with the Democrat Party. Now, I want to be clear. I mostly, at this point in my career, have right-leaning guests on, obviously. We try to get Democrats on all the time. I would love to have AOC on. I would love to have Joe Biden on. I'll have Ilhan Omar and the head of Hamas. What's her name? All of them. I'll do all that stuff. They don't generally want to talk. But I'm not hiding what my political bias are, right? Like Comedy Central is thought of as I suppose, an apolitical network, but everything they gave you, everything they made feel normal was from a leftist perspective. No one's coming here like I'm bamboozling you as to what I believe. I tell you what I believe every second of every day. Anyway, here's a little compilation of Trevor Noah's left-wing bias.
Does this ever get tired, just walking around and people cheering for you when you walk into rooms? There seems to be this feeling where you walk around the country and people go, it's a little bit of oh, but it's also yay! Gender change is not a trend, all right? It's been around for thousands of years. But if it was, why does the church care about it so much? First of all, transgender people can reproduce. And secondly, again, why do you care, right? You don't even let your people reproduce, right? Nuns aren't allowed to have sex, right? Priests can't get little boys pregnant. That same Supreme Court ruling that struck down Roe v. Wade, it also opened the door to future rulings that could overturn other rights, right? Things like the right to gay marriage, interracial marriage, and contraception. Here's the amazing part. For South Africa to achieve that kind of black-white wealth gap, we had to construct an entire apartheid state, denying blacks the right to vote or own property. But you did it without even trying.
You know, one of the things that I find interesting about this guy, actually probably the only thing I find interesting about this guy, is that, I'm very aware when I've toured all over the world, especially when I was on tour with Jordan Peterson, if I was in someone else's country, you might say something about the food or this or that, but I went out of my way not to insult the country, not insult the leaders. I think maybe the one little caveat on that was I did go pretty hard after Trudeau when we were in Canada, but Canada and America I almost consider one thing at this point. This guy, he comes here, moves to this country to just rip our country apart relentlessly and endlessly.